Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining THBD's September Lunch and Learn webinar. Today, we're excited to welcome Dr. Joanne Mitchell, the leading executive and business coach for science and technology professionals. A scientist, early technology commercialization expert, entrepreneur, and coach, Dr. Mitchell began her career in life science research before transitioning into technology commercialization. After 12 years commercializing innovations from major health science centers and private hospitals, including leading commercialization teams, Dr. Mitchell transitioned into entrepreneurship with her consulting and coaching business. Dr. Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us today. Before I hand it over, I'd like to review some quick housekeeping tips. Please submit your questions in the control panel underneath the Questions tab. We will address all questions at the end of the presentation. You can also find a copy of today's presentation in your GoToWebinar control panel underneath Handouts. After today's presentation, we'll upload a live recording of the presentation to THBD's YouTube channel. And with that being said, take it away, Joanne.
Thank you, Mary, and hello, everyone. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to talk to you today about some of my favorite topics. Beyond the technology, 7 steps to develop high-performing science and technology companies that succeed. Now, I expect that most people watching are part of a science and technology company, probably at a fairly early stage of development, right? It's really easy at this stage to have tunnel vision about the importance of the technology you're developing and not be thinking about anything else except whether you can make the technology work. But there are so many other factors that play into whether your company succeeds in its mission or joins the 8 out of 10 startups that fail in the first 5 years. So I'm here today to talk about some of the other factors that are important for you to be able to build a successful and sustainable business. Before we dive into the details, I want to challenge your mindset with this thought. The biggest threat to your company's success is you. You see, the level of thinking that got you to this level of success won't get you to the next level. In fact, it may be the thing that holds you back. Or think of it another way. If your current thinking would get you to the next level, you'd already be there. The real problem is that no one teaches you how to think. They teach you what to think. No one teaches you how to develop the mindset, leadership, communication, and influence skills you need to succeed as a business leader. So, who am I to challenge you with these statements, you might ask? I'm Dr. Joanne Mitchell, leading executive and business coach for science and technology professionals. I'm a former life science researcher and an expert in early stage technology commercialization. I've worked on everything from research tools, diagnostics, biotech and pharma to medical devices. I've covered innovations in molecular biology, free radical biology, nanotech, microbiology, chemistry, software, and just about every disease you can imagine. I rose from scientist to director of technology commercialization at leading university-based health science centers and private hospital systems. For the past 4 years, I've been an executive and business coach and also a consultant in early stage technology commercialization. In addition, I'm a mentor for the Council for Entrepreneurial Development's Venture Mentoring Service here in Raleigh, North Carolina. The backstory to all this is that my dad was a serial entrepreneur. So I grew up working in his various businesses in the holidays, or should I say vacation for Americans. I counted the stock, I ran the CNC lathes, I did books, I did payroll in the days where you got a weekly envelope of cash on payday. I answered the phones, I went out on deliveries, you name it, I did it. But more importantly, I grew up with the entrepreneur mindset and lifestyle. In school, I followed my passion for life sciences and then joined the very first molecular biology and biochemistry bachelor's degree course offered by my university in the UK. I followed up with a PhD in biochemistry and postdoctoral positions in the US studying cancer, free radical biology, and microbiology, including some really interesting work on both detectors and vaccines for anthrax. Now, even though I loved learning about life sciences, I began to realize that a career as a researcher was not for me. I was bored running gels every day, and I could not imagine studying one protein for the rest of my life. So I did some research on alternative careers, and through serendipity, got a connection in the technology transfer office of my university, and was able to volunteer on the side to get some experience while I was still working in the lab full time. Now, that volunteer position led to being able to go to a conference. And while I was at the conference, I was introduced to another university's director. That introduction eventually led to being offered an entry-level position at the other university. From there, I went from entry-level to interim director in just 5 years. I was recruited out to California to be an associate director, and then 2 years later, recruited as the first director to start and build a new technology transfer office for a large hospital system. So at that point, I'd worked for some bad bosses and some great leaders, and I'd had management training. And I recognized there was a disconnect between the processes of management training that I was being taught, budgeting, HR processes, yearly reviews, and that great leadership that no one was teaching. I did my best to model the leaders that I'd had and not the bad bosses. But mostly I knew from experience what didn't work, like screaming at people in the hallways, and the rest I had to try to figure out on my own. I also began to realize that much as I strived, worked hard, and did excellent work, something was holding me back from getting to the next level. There was a lid on my potential, but I didn't know what it was, and it was so frustrating. I didn't have any mentors or sponsors to help me see my blind spots and help me advance. But in that last role, I did have some really useful experiences. I managed to position myself so that I got to report directly to one of the system-level C-suite executives. And that gave me exposure to higher level thinking that's needed at that C-suite level. And I was the only director to get that direct reporting line, so I was the only person really seeing that much higher level thinking. I was also the only director to routinely present to the board of directors, which again gave me exposure to much higher level thinking than other director level employees in that business. Now, on the downside, the leadership had created a very toxic work environment, and eventually I felt stuck and burned out. I was investing in high performance courses for myself when I was exposed to the idea of coaching. Now, in desperation, I hired a coach to help me figure out how to get out of that toxic environment. And that coaching process took me from stuck to completely out in just 8 months' time. I set up my coaching and consulting practice for science and technology businesses and professionals. I joined the John Maxwell team to get high-level coaching training. I got certified in personality assessments, and I continue to get coaching and mentoring from various sources to this day. All of that to give you some background about where I'm coming from today. The things they don't teach you in school that are vital to the success of your business and to your success as a leader. During this presentation, I'm going to equip you with an understanding of 7 non-technical business areas that are essential to your success. I'm going to suggest to you that the success of your business isn't just about the technology you're developing. It's about people. How you develop yourself as a leader, how you communicate, how you develop relationships and develop influence is going to be crucial for your business's success. Now, I've seen founders who don't understand these principles almost destroy their own companies because of their limited ability to work well with the non-technical factors that are critical to success. One of the first things that's going to help you in your business is learning to understand people, starting with yourself, and then taking that knowledge to help you understand your team, investors, customers, and others that you interact with. I encourage all of you to take a personality assessment if you haven't done one, or take another one if you haven't done one recently. Personality isn't fixed. It changes over time as you grow and develop. You may be surprised how much your personality profile has changed over the years. Knowing your personality type and understanding why you act the way you do is key to growing yourself and developing your leadership. Most of us are unaware of why we do the things we do and act the way we do. We're sleepwalking through life. When you understand yourself, you can take control and make changes. When you understand your natural tendencies, you can change the reactions that are not serving you and implement actions that will improve your communications and influence with others. Personality profile assessment is one of the first things I do with my executive and business clients because it's so powerful. Now, there are 4 personality types in the assessment that I use. D is the driver, the competitive, productive, aggressive, very task-oriented type. I is the influencing, enthusiastic, persuasive, talkative, and people-oriented type. S is the steady, loyal, dependable, peaceful, people-oriented type. And C is the conscientious, detailed, organized, data-driven, very task-oriented type. Most people are a combination of 2 to 3 of these styles, with one being most dominant. Many leaders in the science and technology businesses I work with are high in C. If this is you, or you work with a high C, you may recognize some of the tendencies here. When you know that as a high C, you are critical and perfectionist, you can practice flexibility with your team and focus on praising what they do well, not criticizing them. When you know you are reserved and conservative, you can stop being timid and passive and earn the respect of more aggressive personality types. When you know you are slow to make decisions and tend to overanalyze, you can beat analysis paralysis by listening more to your intuition. When you know you're very task-oriented, you can deliberately cultivate relationships, open communication, and use positive body language and warmth with others. When you know you're self-reliant and prefer to work independently, you can remember to collaborate and delegate more. For example, a client who is a director in a life science-based business was struggling with lack of cross-functional collaboration. After a personality analysis, she was able to recognize the high C traits that were holding her back when working with high I and high D personalities. She was able to see why she didn't stand her ground in high conflict situations, and then was able to use visualization techniques to anticipate the meeting and how she would respond to direct the way the meeting would unfold and obtain her desired outcome. Once you understand that people have different personality types, you can also start to understand their different communication styles. When you understand how other personality types communicate, you can figure out how to tweak your communications so that your message is actually heard. You're not changing who you are, you're changing the way you deliver information so that different personalities hear what you need them to hear. For example, to communicate effectively with a high D, be brief, direct, and to the point. Focus on business and the desired results. Don't ramble, don't be too sociable, or focus on problems. With a high I, develop a friendly environment. Let them talk about ideas, people, and their thinking. Help them to develop those ideas into an action plan, and then incentivize them taking action. With a high S, create a friendly environment. Present change to current practice in a non-threatening manner, and give them time to adjust. With a high C, prepare your case in advance. Support statements with facts. Be patient, persistent, and diplomatic. So why does this matter? Well, focusing on how other people hear your message best, rather than on how you prefer to deliver it, gives you a business advantage. Now you know how to get your message across and avoid miscommunication and drama. Want to get the best results when you're talking to a CEO or a venture capitalist? Summarize your findings, get straight to the result, and leave the reams of data in the appendix for backup if needed. With a sales director, be friendly and tell a story to engage them. Praise them sincerely and make sure they know what's in it for them to take action on your plan. With an administrative assistant, be friendly and non-threatening. Clearly define goals, procedures, and their role in the plan. And with a scientist, bring your data and point out systematically how it supports your plan. Get straight to the task. Don't be vague when answering questions. The details really matter to them. Here's an example of how I used my knowledge of communication styles to help my scientist clients in technology commercialization. My scientists who want to commercialize their research by starting a company often needed to present their inventions to venture capitalists who might fund the company. Some of you watching may have been scientists who took this route too. Now, but scientists are high C and they love data. When they present, they want to present as much data as possible to document their findings. VCs, on the other hand, tend to be high D. They have short attention spans and are results focused. So I helped scientists to craft brief presentations of their technology that focused on the result the technology would bring and who would buy it. We worked to keep the data slides to the minimum needed to tell the story. Now, this coaching approach was very helpful to keep engagement between the two parties and move those discussions along to the next stage. Another key to leading a successful business is developing influence. Learning how to influence the people around you, including your board, your colleagues, and your team, is one of the most powerful things you can do for your business. Leadership is all about influence. If you don't have enough influence with people that they want to follow you, you can't make an impact in the world. And being a boss is not the same as having influence. Influence takes time and consistent implementation of strategies to develop. I work with my clients for 6 months or more to help them become powerful influencers. Now, influence is a huge topic, but here's where to start. Tip number 1, to have real influence, people need to be able to trust you. Model integrity and character. No gossiping. Tip number 2, focus on giving, not getting, and develop relationships. As my mentor John Maxwell says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Tip number 3, give people respect, recognition, and sincere appreciation. How many people here feel respected and recognized at work? How do you feel about another person who gives you sincere appreciation? Aren't you more likely to be influenced by them and want to help them? Tip number 4, be an encourager. Don't complain, don't criticize, don't condemn. Everyone gets too much criticism already, and it just shuts them down. Tip number 5, listen to understand, not to reply. Ask questions that show you are really listening. People crave being listened to because no one is doing it. Everyone is just thinking about the next thing they want to say. Tip number 6, figure out WIIFT. What's in it for them? People act out of their own self-interest. To influence someone to work with you, figure out what a win looks like for them and show them how to get that by working with you. Why is this important? Because in order to be influenced by you, people must know, like, and trust you. They must buy into you as a person. Now, trying to make people do things because you have positional power over them is not influence. You may be able to force them to cooperate because they fear you, but you won't get their best efforts and their most brilliant ideas, and they'll probably spend a lot of time online looking for another job. Now, in collaborations, you don't have positional power. You must learn to influence in order to engage the other party, get the work done, and get the best possible outcome. This may apply to you, for instance, if you collaborate with a university lab to get some of your research done. Learning how to influence the PI so that he or she focuses on your project and not just on the projects that will get him or her more grant funding is crucial to keep the research collaboration moving forward. Developing influence with your board and investors is essential for making sure your ideas, plans, and strategies are heard, and you can get the funding you need to grow your business. Here's another example. A client in a medical device company was having a great deal of trouble getting cooperation from another department in collaborative projects. By employing these and other influencing tactics, over time, she was able to develop influence with the other team, and most importantly, with their leader. With the influence she developed, she was able to get buy-in from the other team on a project that was important for her department's key performance indicators, but that required the cooperation of the other department. So their interactions went from really antagonistic to cooperative in a fairly short period of time, precisely because she learned how to influence. Let's talk about your foundation. When you're running a startup or a small to medium-sized business, the success of the company is heavily dependent on you. As that leader, you need to be operating at peak performance. You need to think of yourself as an endurance athlete who can go the distance. If you aren't at your best or you don't have enough stamina during execution of your plan, the business won't fulfill its mission. You need to build a strong foundation to operate from each day. This means getting 7 to 8 hours sleep every night. Now, I know it's part of startup culture to brag about how many hours you work and how little sleep you can get by on, but it's not helping your business. Look at how Elon Musk was acting recently when he got into trouble with the SEC at a time when he was reportedly really sleep deprived. Now, Jack Ma was just quoted as saying he never skimps on sleep because it's so important to his decision making. So if someone at that level of success is focused on sleep, shouldn't you be too? Your body is not a machine. Scientific studies have shown that the cognitive impairment from sleep deprivation is like that from being on drugs. You wouldn't want to make critical business decisions on drugs, would you? So don't deprive yourself of sleep if you want to make good decisions. Don't buy into the bravado. You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night for your brain and body to be operating at peak performance levels. Now let's talk about hydration. Your brain is 70 to 80% water, and your body is 90% water. Since your brain is mostly water, drinking enough of it helps you function at your highest mental level by improving concentration and cognition, helping to balance your moods and emotions, maintaining memory function, increasing blood flow and oxygen to your brain, preventing and relieving headaches, and reducing stress. Not to mention, it's great for keeping your body healthy too. So ditch the coffee. Experts, including the Institute of Medicine, suggest drinking 2 liters of water per day, which is about 8 8-ounce glasses. Now, most Americans only drink half that. Even mild dehydration can cause problems with cognitive performance, including poor concentration, increased reaction time, and short-term memory problems, as well as moodiness and anxiety. Bottom line, if you want your brain to be functioning at its highest level so you can do your best thinking and make the best business decisions possible, drink more water. Now, onto nutrition. As the athlete of the workplace, entrepreneurs and business leaders should eat like athletes. You need lots of lean protein, fruits and vegetables, and complex carbohydrates. No processed food, minimal white flour, minimal sugar. Since you spend all day confronting challenging mental tasks, your brain's nutritional demands are greater. You produce lots of oxidants in the brain when you're working, so foods that are high in antioxidants like berries, beans, apples, or tea can counteract the damage to your brain from all those oxidant molecules. Cut out fatty foods to get an instant boost in energy. Avoid caffeine in the morning on an empty stomach, as it increases levels of stress and anxiety by decreasing your serotonin levels. Cut back on sugar. Studies show that a diet high in fructose slows the brain, hampering memory and learning. Omega-3 fatty acids found in salmon, walnuts, and flaxseed can counteract some of these disruptions. Bottom line, to perform at your best as a leader, you need to fuel your body in a healthy way. Exercise. Exercise is essential to keep your body healthy so that you'll still be around to see your vision for your business come to fruition. Exercise also aids your business by giving you more energy, improving your memory, increasing your ability to focus, and increasing your attention span so you can get that critical work done. Exercise also increases your creativity and problem-solving skills, which are critical for entrepreneurs. And it also decreases stress and anxiety while increasing self-confidence, all of which are important for exuding that calm, confident, executive presence you need as a leader. Stress reduction. You can't perform at your peak performance if you let stress and anxiety get in the way. Apart from sleep, hydration, nutrition, and exercise, which all help, you can also reduce stress by incorporating things like daily meditation. Start with just 10 minutes and build up from there. Mindful breathing exercises. Now, the Marines use some of these before going into conflict situations, as they work at a physiological level to calm the body and nervous system so that they can focus on what needs to be done with a calm, clear head. And then there are gratitude practices which help you keep in a positive mental state even when things get really tough in your business. The bottom line with all of this is that you have to prioritize keeping your foundation strong if you're going to be a high-performing and effective entrepreneur and business leader. You've got to make time for this. If your foundation is unstable, everything else you try to build on top of that is at risk of failing. Step number 5 in becoming a successful leader is developing clarity. Now, clarity is defined as freedom from indistinctness or ambiguity. It is absolutely essential that you get crystal clear about what you want to achieve and where you want to go with your business. Most people don't get what they want because they're not crystal clear about what that really is. If you're fuzzy about the outcome you want, how are you going to achieve it? For instance, if I say, I want to lose weight, well, as a goal, that isn't precise enough to achieve anything. I need to get clear about and define how much weight, by when, using what plan, eating what type of food, cutting out what, doing what kind of exercise, and when. It's like using a GPS. You need to program in an exact location in order to get where you actually want to go. For instance, I'm going to a conference in a couple of weeks. In order to get where I want to go, it's not enough for me to say I want to go to Texas. That could land me almost anywhere. To get where I really want to be, I have to specifically know I want to go to the La Cantera Resort on La Cantera Parkway in San Antonio, Texas. In programming my GPS, that clarity of end goal could mean the difference between being at my conference in a luxury hotel or ending up in the middle of a West Texas prairie oil field. As the great salesman Zig Ziglar used to say, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. To be a high-performing business leader, you need clarity. Now, probably when you started your business, you had a vision of what you wanted to do at some level. How crystal clear was that vision? How granular did you go on the vision? Did you know what kind of company you wanted to build? What size? How many people? How much revenue? What role you wanted all the way through? Exactly what exit, if any, you wanted and when? Now, I'm not talking about the standard business plan you put together for investors, although that's fine for its purpose. I'm talking about you knowing exactly what you were aiming for. How often do you review that vision? Is it time to revisit your vision and see if there's enough granularity to get you where you really want to go? As Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. Here are some coaching questions you might ask to start with. Why does your business exist? What is its purpose? What are your values? What need in the world does your business serve? What problem does your business solve? Where do you want your business to be in 5 years' time? How much money do you want to make? How is your business different? How will you stand out from the competition? Who is your target customer? How will you help them? Taking action. Once you have that crystal clear vision set, how are you going to achieve it? What do you need to do? Depending on how big your vision is, you may need to set 20-year, 10-year, 5-year, and 1-year goals that will move you towards fulfilling that big vision. Remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. To create a plan around a goal, here are some of the coaching questions you need to ask. What is the goal? When does it need to be completed? What is the deadline? What steps need to be taken? Who will be responsible for the goal? Who else needs to be involved? What resources do you have? What resources do you need to acquire? What might get in the way of reaching the goal? Now, a plan to reach a goal is fine, but as Brendon Burchard says, if it's not on the calendar, it's a dead dream. In order to actually achieve the goal, you need to set aside the time to work on it and block out that time on your calendar so it actually gets done. To do that with a big goal, you need to break it down so you don't get overwhelmed or off track with busy work. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Now, I'm a big fan of 90-day plans. 90 days is long enough to make progress without being so long that you procrastinate and put off working the steps of your plan because the deadline seems so far away. There are other steps you can take to break down your 90-day plan into bite-sized, achievable steps too, and you should do that. Once you get to the 90-day mark, it's important to stop and review where you are and adjust your plan if necessary so you can keep on track to hit that big one-year goal. And don't get so attached to the plan that you change the goal when things aren't working. If the plan isn't helping you reach the goal, it's time for a new plan. Now that you know how to be a successful leader with clarity, goals, and a plan of action, let's add in some tactics that can increase your productivity and performance. Now, one thing that entrepreneurs are especially prone to is shiny object syndrome. They have lots on their plate, they love new people, and they're always on the hunt for the next big idea. But this can get them into trouble. Research shows that the more stimuli the brain is exposed to, the harder time it has focusing on a single task, which makes us more impulsive. That's because when we're overwhelmed, the limbic system in our brain drives us to do what feels right, not necessarily what is right. And that compels us to embrace new ideas we haven't fully thought through. Leaders who struggle with shiny object syndrome cost their companies hundreds of thousands of dollars in time, resources, and productivity. The antidote to shiny object syndrome: prioritize and focus. What must your business accomplish to move in the direction of your big vision? Everything else is a distraction. Keep your vision for your business in the forefront of your mind and ask yourself, what are the top 3 goals that will get you there or move you substantially in the direction of achieving your vision? Focus on those top 3 goals until they have been achieved. Now, to focus on a daily basis, start the day by asking, what are the top 3 things I must accomplish today to make progress towards my goals? Next, prioritize those 3 things as the number 1 top priority, must get done, then number 2, and then number 3. Start by only working on priority number 1 until it's done. Do not allow yourself to work on anything else until it's done. Next, move on to priority number 2 and only work on that until it's done. Then do the same thing for priority number 3. You'll be amazed at how much more you get accomplished each day prioritizing what has to be done versus procrastinating with busy work. Here are some other useful tactics to turn you into a high performer who gets the right things done. First of all, learn to say no. In order to say yes to your priorities, you need to get good at saying no to all the other distractions. Remove distractions and clutter from your environment. Close your door. Turn off notifications. Turn off or close email programs, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, messaging apps, and the phone. Check your email and voicemail twice a day and close the program the rest of the time and let your phone go to voicemail. Your inbox is just a place for other people's priorities. Have a preset time when you check your email and respond, and the rest of the time, close it down so you can focus. It takes your brain 20 minutes to get back on task after a distraction. When you do open email, use the do, defer, delegate, or delete method to manage email tasks. If you can do something in 2 minutes, do it now. If not, calendar a time to take action and then file the email. If it's something someone else can do 80% as well as you can, delegate it. And if it's not something that fits into any of those categories, just delete it. You can also set filters so your inbox stays clean and uncluttered so that you can see what's important easily. It only takes a few minutes to set up filters so that you can, for example, send newsletters and professional association emails to a separate folder to read later. To send regular emails you don't read directly to the trash. For instance, I used to do that for daily emails from the hospital cafeteria about what their specials were for the day, knowing that you should never eat at a hospital cafeteria if you want to stay healthy. Create morning and evening routines to set you up for a focused, productive day and to wind down and get set up for the next day. Set aside an hour max on a Sunday to do a review of your week. Reflect on what you learned and plan for the week ahead. As John Maxwell says, experience is only a great teacher if you take the time to pause and reflect on it. Otherwise, you take the test, but the lesson never comes. So now you understand 7 non-technical business areas that are essential to your success. Here's what we covered today. Understanding yourself and other people so that you can see why they act and react the way they do, and identify your own areas for growth. Communicate effectively with other personality types. How to start to develop influence with people. Setting yourself up with a strong foundation so that you can perform at the highest levels. The importance of getting crystal clear about your vision and your goals. Taking action, setting long, medium, and short-term goals, and setting up a detailed action plan to achieve those goals. And some high-performance tactics to get more of the right things done each day. So what's next? You have to implement. These 7 steps may just sound like common sense. You may be saying to yourself, yeah, I've heard all this before. But stop for just a minute and ask yourself, how am I doing on implementing these things every day? You see, the performance gap is between what we know and what we actually do. People who are highly successful in business implement these steps, and it gives them an edge. They're operating at a much higher level of performance and awareness. So, what will you do differently as a result of what you've heard today? What will help you reach a higher level of success? I'm Joanne Mitchell, and thank you so much for attending this webinar today.
Hi, Joanne. This is Mary and the crew here at Temple, and want to thank you so much for that presentation. I think you gave us some steps that we can all identify with and hope to do better with in the future. We want to open the floor up for questions in case there are any here in Temple.
What would be a good spot to take that personality test? Does she have a website or?
Yeah, Joanne, I don't know if you heard, but wondering if you have any tips or resources for good personality indicator tests?
Let's see. Well, I usually do them with my coaching clients, but if you get in touch with me, I can see if I can make some available for people to take.
That would be great. We'll definitely get in touch and appreciate that. Any others here in Temple? For the webinar? No, it's always free to attend. Joanne, I am kind of wondering if you see trends with folks struggling to adapt to one of the 7 steps more than the others? Or to implement those in their own work?
I think particularly on the science and technology side, it is the understanding the personalities and the communication and influence, because a lot of the people on this side of the industry are very technical and less relational than excuse me, other personality types. And these are things that they don't teach you in grad school. You know, they just teach you the technical stuff. And then you go out in the world and want to start a business, and all of a sudden you're dealing with people, or you're developing in a leadership role in a company. You're dealing with people, and you really haven't been taught how to do that, and it's not natural. So I would say those are the skills that they need to learn. Those emotional intelligence, soft skills that are absolutely essential for succeeding at higher levels.
Great. We definitely appreciate your insight on that. And I think that's it from our crowd here. But Joanne, want to thank you so much for your time and for your presentation. We will make it available on the THBD YouTube channel so that folks can access it after today. And thank you so much for your time and for your expertise.
Well, thank you. It was great to be here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.